You and I follow a lot of different YouTubers and Twitter accounts, the pundits of the non-mainstream media, and I want to propose an idea to you. They don't do things like you do, and they don't think like you. They don't think like normal people, and maybe that's bad. Maybe it's learned. Maybe it's a complete departure from normality. Now, what starts this discussion is not the point of this discussion, but I will mention it briefly, even though this content, I guess, could be considered evergreen. Right now, the War of the Iron Swords is going strong in Israel. Lauren Chen, the ironically named Nuanced Bro, and others have used the word genocide regarding Israel's war against Hamas. That's ridiculous. And maybe I'll address that in another video. However, the question is, how did we get to the point where someone who should be level-headed and intelligent, like Lauren Chen and others, are using a word like genocide to describe warfare against terrorists who raped and murdered and butchered women and children? How does a successful, level-headed thinker get there? And that's what this video is about. I mention Lauren specifically, but the truth is this could apply to anyone. Now, it comes as no surprise to you or to me that this YouTube channel is a failure, that my Twitter account is a complete failure. And some people might say, yeah, it's because he completely lacks the ability, the talent, the intelligence to be a political YouTuber. Maybe that's a fair critique. But a motivational speaker, on the other hand, might say something more interesting. They might say, well, you don't have what they have because you don't do what they do. You don't emulate the habits of successful YouTubers. And that is why you are not successful. So what do they do, and how does that yield them success, and how does that start a positive feedback loop? In this business, success is all about singularity. It's all about uniqueness. It's all about being first, having a reasonably correct opinion, being unique, and sticking out from the crowd. Now, originally, like in 2013, 14, 15, 16, that was pretty easy. All you had to do was show up and have a conservative-ish idea, present it well, be reasonably well-produced, funny, physically attractive, something like that, and you would gain a lot of traction. You could count on one hand the number of edgy or funny or top-tier female or male YouTubers that really stuck out. And if you started your YouTube channel back then, you were in a very natural place to be successful because there was only one of you. It was easy for you to achieve singularity. But now it's not. In a scene that is increasingly dominated by new creators, more thinkers, talkers, and noisemakers, quite frankly, it's very difficult to stick out when you are one of thousands of edgy male or female YouTubers trying to get your thoughts out into the world. Now, to achieve that singularity, you are trying to be a unique tree in a forest. So you have to be taller, you have to be redder or bluer or more purple than every other tree. If you think about having to do more in order to keep being successful, that doing more for the same results just to maintain the results you've always had or the growth you've always had, that idea is very progressive. Just like the definition of racism. 50 years ago, it was good enough, but now that that definition has largely been erased, you need a new definition because you need a new frontier to pursue, or else you give up your identity. It's a bit like chasing the dragon. You need more to get the same high. You need more speed and the delivery of your opinions that are fresher, that are newer, that are more punchy and more cutting edge than everybody else. You have to be more first, more louder, more on the fringe. You have to separate yourself from the mainstream, from the main bulk of the bell curve. You can't say what everybody else is saying, even if it's a normal and rational thought, even if it's the right thought. You can't really say it. You have to separate yourself and get one or two or more standard deviations away from the main YouTuber thought on the subject. I don't think that mentality leads you to more sanity. I don't think it leads you to more normal. And the sheer level of plugged inness that these YouTubers need in probably what is one of the worst aspects of our society is probably not good for them mentally or emotionally. But see, this is where the success part kicks in. Most of us scrape together clients, or we go to a job that we don't really like, and that's how we have financial security, or a measure of it. We do normal things. You wake up every day, you drive past the gas station and your heart sinks. You go to the grocery store and you just get more anxiety because you work a normal job, you live a normal life, and you make a normal amount of money that is increasingly not enough. But now a YouTuber, that's a different story. These YouTubers do the impossible, the unthinkable, the unbelievable. They wake up every morning and have a political opinion they put on the internet, and people give a damn, and they also give them money. And some of these YouTubers are making $80 or $100 or $120 or $150,000 a year for having a political opinion on the internet. And they're famous. They're popular. Jordan Peterson said, "Don't believe everything you think." Well, they do. They can, and they can put it on YouTube or Twitter, and thousands or tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people will clap and make them feel affirmed and good about what they think and say and do, whether or not it's right or wrong. Who wants to lose that? Who wants to lose that kind of income and the fame and affirmation that goes with it? The answer is nobody. Because if you lose that level of income, suddenly the economy is way more real to you when you go to the grocery store. It's not an annoyance. It's not just a talking point you can put in a video. When you have to go get a real job and work for real amounts of money, suddenly all of these things become so much more important, so much more laden with anxiety and fear. Suddenly that security is gone. And so they are going to chase the success, the likes, the clicks, the shares, and the effort to get eyes on their content, because eyes on your content also means eyes on your sponsors and eyes on your Patreon that allow you to live a lifestyle that is far beyond the pale of most normal people. And even if it's not, even if it's just $50 or $60 or $70,000 a year, even if it's just that much, the way you make that money is incredible. Waking up and having a political opinion. Wow, that's everybody, but you get paid for it. How can you lose that? And the answer is you can't. And so that desire for maintained success and not losing their edge and not losing their singularity drives them. And I believe in a lot of cases it's subconsciously driving them to edgier and edgier ideas. It's driving them further and further from the middle of the bell curve. Sometimes that's fine. Sometimes the truth is a couple of standard deviations away from the bell curve. There's nothing wrong with that. What is wrong is when that is the sole motivation to maintain singularity, because all you're doing at that point is just chasing more edginess and more uniqueness to maintain the success you've always had. And at that point, there's only one question. What about the truth? What about reality? What about normality? What about living a healthy life, both mentally and emotionally? Sure, you've achieved singularity, but at what cost? At what cost to you? At what cost to the talking heads? And at what cost to you, the listener, the person who hears all these things being said? What about that? So I'm not telling you to unfollow Lauren or Tim Pool or Nuance Bro or any of these people. I'm not telling you that. What I am saying is, remember this. They've achieved an inordinate amount of success doing something incredibly normal and being pretty decent at it. But to stay relevant, they are going to chase the dragon. They're going to act like a progressive. They're going to become more extreme in some ways, because that's how they're going to maintain their success. And that success is going to affirm their further departure from the middle of the bell curve, from normal, from the way you and I just think when we wake up in the morning. All of that affirmation is going to come from their success. So don't unfollow or dump their Patreon unless you want to, but instead, just remember every time they say something that they are increasingly living in a bubble that looks so very little like the lives that you and I have to lead. They aren't like you, but that doesn't mean you're wrong.